I am sitting on a wooden bench in the park. It is late afternoon. The sunlight is thinning, turning more golden, and the number of people passing by is slowly decreasing. I see families walking past, children holding hands, elderly people being gently supported as they walk. No one notices me, and that is nothing unusual. At this age, you grow accustomed to becoming a very quiet part of the scenery. Throughout my life, I have carried one question in my mind. It was never loud, but it was persistent. Have I done anything great yet? When I was younger, that question pushed me to move faster, to do more, to try harder. I believed that if one day I could answer that question properly, my life would have meaning. I am 86 years old now. At an age when there is not much time left to fix mistakes, I have begun to doubt the very question that guided me for so many years. When I was younger, I measured life by what I achieved, by milestones, by things I could tell others about. But now, sitting here alone, I realize there are so many things that cannot be told. I cannot remember clearly who I was beside during the important moments. I also cannot remember who was beside me, and that unsettles me more than any failure I ever faced before. It turns out the problem may never have been the answer at all. Perhaps the problem is that I spent my entire life asking the wrong question. It took me very late to realize that perhaps I have been asking the wrong question all along. When I was very young, adults already began asking me questions that, now looking back, feel frighteningly familiar. What will you do when you grow up? Who do you want to become? What are you better at than others? No one asked me what kind of person I was or who I cared about. At the time, those questions sounded normal, even helpful for the future, and I believed them. I believed that life was a long examination, and my task was to answer those questions better and better over time. As I grew older, the questions changed their form, but not their nature. What is your job? What have you achieved? What is your next step? I chased them the way one chases milestones on a highway. Each time I reached a goal, I immediately set a bigger one. There were periods when I barely stopped at all. I thought that if I slowed down, if I did not have an impressive enough answer, I would be left behind. I truly believed that if one day I could look back and say I had accomplished many things, then my life would have meaning. But the older I became, the more I realized that those questions are very good at measuring achievement and very poor at touching a human being. They never asked who I lived alongside. They never asked who I listened to. They never asked whether I stayed or walked away during difficult moments. They only asked things that could be listed, could be recounted, could make others nod in approval, and I answered them fairly well. I had a stable career. I had achievements I once dreamed of. I had stories that did not sound too bad when told at gatherings. But then there were very quiet evenings when no one asked me any more questions, and I began to feel an emptiness that was hard to name. I sat alone and tried to recall specific faces, not titles, not positions, but real people, and I realized my memories were vague. Thus achievements remained clear like large road signs, but the faces faded like houses passing by too quickly from a moving car. I am not sure who I was there for when they needed me most. I am also not sure who was there for me when I was at my weakest. That confused me because I had done so many things exactly as society taught me to do. So, why did everything inside feel so empty? And then, very late, small memories began to return, quietly, out of order. Just very brief moments. Someone who stayed with me a little longer when I was irritable and unpleasant. A time when someone did not walk away even when I had nothing meaningful to say. Back then, those moments were not considered important. They did not help me move faster. They did not make me stand out. I do not even remember clearly what I thought at the time, but now at 86, when I look back, those moments are the rare points of light that still retain a clear shape. They are tied to people, to the feeling of being with someone even briefly. And only now do I begin to understand something that makes me feel both relieved and regretful. Perhaps the most important things in my life were not the questions I answered so well. For a long time I thought my problem was that I had not done enough, not achieved anything big enough. I thought that if I tried a little harder, reached one more milestone, that emptiness would disappear. But then one very quiet afternoon, I suddenly understood something quite painful. The problem was not that I had not tried hard enough. The problem was that I had spent my entire life answering the wrong question. I was always asking myself what I had achieved, how far I had gone, what mark I had left behind. And I rarely, almost never, asked the other questions. Who was there when I truly needed someone, and who I was there for when they needed me the most? It sounds simple, doesn't it? But strangely, it was only when I became very old that I was finally slow enough to hear those questions. When I began to ask them that way the entire way, I looked at my life changed. The achievements that once felt enormous suddenly grew smaller. They were still there, but they no longer stood at the center. In their place, faces began to appear more clearly. Not all of them, just a few, but they were the ones who stayed. I remember a friend who sat in silence with me for an entire afternoon when I did not want to talk and did not want advice. I remember a family member who did not leave even when I was not pleasant to be around at all. If you had asked me about those moments when I was 30 or 40, I would have said they were nothing special. They did not help me get promoted. They did not earn me recognition. They did not belong in any story of success. But now looking back, I see that they carry far more weight than many other things. I am beginning to understand that what kept me in this life was not what I did, but the people I did not lose. And perhaps what keeps others in life is the same. We often think the value of a life lies in what we leave behind for the world, a creation, a reputation, something big enough to be remembered. But the older I get, the colder that way of thinking feels. The world does not need us in order to keep going. It will keep turning whether it remembers our names or not. But individual people are different. There are very specific, very fragile moments that will collapse if you are not there. Mattering, at least to me now, is no longer about leaving something behind for the world. It is about not disappearing from someone's life at the exact moment they need you most. And the hardest part is that you will never know how important that moment is when it happens. You will not be applauded. You will not be acknowledged. You might even forget that you ever did it, but the other person will not. They will carry it with them for a very long time, sometimes for an entire lifetime. What troubles me the most is not the goals I failed to reach, but the questions I did not ask sooner. Because I believe there are many people who lived lives that were deeply valuable, deeply kind, deeply present, yet left this world feeling as though they had left nothing behind, simply because they measured their lives by the wrong standards. They never asked who they kept from falling. They never asked who stayed standing because they were there. If you change the question in your mind, everything looks different. The same life, the same past, but an entirely different way of seeing it. Now, as I sit here on this familiar park bench, I no longer try to sum up my life by what I achieved. I simply sit quietly and think about the times I stayed, and the times someone stayed with me. For the first time, that measure feels warm enough to rest my life upon. At 86, I know one thing very clearly. I do not have enough time left to live my life again by these new questions. I cannot go back to those busy years to stay longer. I cannot return to the days when I thought I was too busy to listen. The only thing I can do now is sit here and look back very slowly. And so, I want to ask you one thing right now. Each morning when you wake up, what is the first question in your mind? Are you asking what you have done, how fast you are moving, what you have proven? Or are you asking who you will be there for today? You may be trying very hard. You may be doing everything exactly as society taught you. But in the process, is someone being overlooked? Is there a face you did not look at long enough? A call you meant to make but postponed? A moment you chose to walk away from because you thought it did not matter? I am not saying this to make you panic. I only want you to try changing the question even just once and see if it feels different. If there has ever been someone in your life who was there for you, in a very quiet, very ordinary way, share this video with them. They may not know how important they were. And if you want, leave a line here. If you change the question in your mind, what would you begin to see differently in your life? I do not have much time left to try again, but you do. And perhaps starting with a different question is enough.